Welcome to episode 18 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC anime universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And for our few lovely listeners out there, bear with us a little bit. We've changed our audio setup, so we're trying a totally new thing. So if there's some strange audio inconsistencies for the next few weeks, that is entirely my fault, and I appreciate your patience. But that aside, that little bit of business up front aside, we have one good episode this week.
Yeah, one good episode and one good idea.
Good idea. Execution, maybe not so much. But I have to say, I did like the laughing fish a lot, though.
I think it was. I enjoyed it, but I think it might have been kind of, upon first watch, it was like overhyped for me a little bit.
Okay,
because I'd heard a lot of stories like, oh, this is like such a great Joker storyline, and for like a Joker plot, it's not great. It's funny. It's weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
Maybe not his weirdest, but it's up there.
Right. But just the execution of it was so good. Like we see Paul Dini and Bruce Timm are working together again, and it's
always a good sign.
Yeah.
So to kind of get into what happens real quick. So atypical intro.
The only cool animated one.
No.
Well, no. I guess, are we talking Freeze?
Freeze is animated.
It's barely animated.
I think, did we have a conversation in this podcast before about the visual equivalent of diegetic, or is that on something else?
I don't think so, because I don't know what that means.
Okay. So diegetic is a term, basically, in a film. If diegetic sound is like if a song is playing on an actual radio in someone's car.
Oh, okay.
That's a diegetic sound. Mm-hmm. And then compared to the score of a movie, which is non-diegetic. So basically, is it in the world of the film, or is it not? And so I've had this conversation with someone before about what's the visual equivalent of diegetic. It might also be diegetic, and I think I looked it up and I think I've forgotten. But the intro is part of the world. So like it opens on the swinging laughing fish sign, mm-hmm. and then the credits roll over that, and we kind of pan over and we're in the world already. So it's not a title card, which makes it atypical.
Right.
That was long-winded.
No, I thank you for explaining that, because I learned something.
Oh, I taught you something that didn't have to do with random celebrity references.
You don't teach me those. You just mock me on not knowing those.
That's absolutely true. I do nothing constructive.
Yeah.
Ever. But anyway, so typical visual storytelling style. We just see a newspaper, Joker still at large, and we're at the docks because we're always at the docks. And a fishing trawler rolls in and dumps a whole bunch of fish onto the deck, and they're all have the Joker smile on them. Batman takes the fish back and dissects it basically at the cave. One thing I like is that he clearly understands the Joker's motives, because he's explained out for like the Joker's insane schemes make sense sometimes to him alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right, it goes straight to the super spinning newspaper. And I had those headlines written down. I deleted them out of my notes, but it was basically just like, harbor's full of smiley fish. Is this another crazy Joker scheme?
Yeah, it
probably.
What I enjoyed about this is, for such not a small act, but for such a weird act, the whole city is in fear. And you see the power Joker has in Gotham, where he can literally do anything, and the whole city just goes crazy.
Yeah, people are really freaking out about this.
They kind of like bar their doors. They prepare themselves for the worst.
Yeah,
because anyone could be the target.
You're right. It finally shows on like a broad scale what his menace is. Ironically, for one of his less menacing schemes,
right? But I think it shows the idea of Joker.
That's true. It does show that really well.
With the point of this episode.
Yeah, because his scheme is he goes to the copyright office to a Mr. Francis and basically tells him, I want to copyright my face, like the smiling fish, and then anyone who eats fish or buys fish will owe me money. And Francis's point is, well, it's a natural resource. You can't copyright it.
Right.
To which he does not appreciate that.
He says the lovely joke about the copyrighted character that he can't mention, the Colonel.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's right. The Colonel's got the chicken.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And they don't even have the mustache.
Oh, that's right.
It's fun to hear a show reference kind of a product that they can't actually talk about. Weirdly enough, which is going on like in the world right now. You've been following the Wendy's scandal? We're gonna.
I just been seeing they've been
not scandal.
They've been trolling people on Twitter. I read a little bit of it.
Yeah, they mention, I don't remember which mascot it is. But they can't actually use the name, so they like describe the mascot instead.
Oh, they can't say Ronald McDonald?
Yeah.
We can say Ronald McDonald.
No, I just couldn't remember who. Okay. I don't think it was Ronald McDonald. It was some other company's mascot.
The Burger King?
I don't remember.
The Taco Bell Chihuahua? No, you're too young for that.
How? I'm 4 years younger than you. That Chihuahua was prominent from like 1996 through 2003 when he died.
All right,
it's like asking if I know what the Warner Brothers frog is.
Does he have a name?
He does. I don't remember it.
Yeah, so I could ask you about the Warner Brothers frog, and you wouldn't.
Can you tell me the name?
No, but you don't know the name. He sings the song.
When did he go out of commission?
Oh, fuck if I know.
2006.
With the one with the top hat? And
yes. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Well, hello, my ragtime doll.
Well, he was never a real frog, though.
Was an animated frog. He's still a mascot.
He didn't die like the Chihuahua.
No, I said decommissioned.
Oh, okay. I think that's what they probably describe the Chihuahua too. Is the Chihuahua was decommissioned?
Yeah. So Batman.
So Batman. So Francis has till midnight to change his mind, and we learn that the fish aren't poisoned. And the Joker puts out a commercial across all channels because he has an amazing ability to hijack Gotham air and television waves.
Kind of anything.
Yeah,
really anything he wants.
So Francis is under police protection. And
it was Michigan J. Frog, by the way. Sorry, it was bothering me.
No, I'm so happy. So happy you've looked that up. I've probably never even heard that phrase. I've never even heard the name.
Michigan J. Frog.
Michigan?
Yep.
Like the state?
Like the state.
There's probably a story behind that. I don't know. I'll let you look it up.
I'll look it up after this.
But so Batman sneaks into Francis's house using his patented costume over costume method. So this time in a police uniform and hat, which he just tears away, which makes me then think, is that a stripper's costume that he's wearing?
I really hope so.
Because he doesn't pull off the jacket, pull off the pants. He literally just pulls it apart.
Yeah.
And from what I recall, there's not really even a tearing sound. It just pulls away.
Mm-hmm.
So either he bought a stripper's police uniform or he custom makes tear away cop uniforms. Do you think he makes Alfred sit there and
sew them back together?
So because he probably...
No, I'm sure he has just a closet of each costume.
Right, but to make them tear away, though. So he probably has to buy them in bulk, like we see in Batman Begins. He has to order 10,000 units. So he probably orders 10,000 police stripper costumes to avoid suspicion, and then has Alfred sit there and hand re-sew them one by one so they can tear away.
What else is Alfred going to do?
He's got silver to polish.
Nothing happens in that house.
That's absolutely true.
Especially while Bruce is gone, nothing is happening.
He's got a lot of time just sitting around waiting for Bruce to show up with a gunshot wound.
Yeah.
And
or a stab wound. Or he's poisoned.
Or a broken heart sometimes,
Broken heart.
Even Batman get broken
amnesia. There's a random kid Bruce has brought home. Sometimes he trains them to be Robin. Sometimes they're just there to steal things.
And then Alfred has to go and clean up the dishes that are now covered in grimy child fingerprints. He does have a lot of free time on his hands. Sad, lonely life of Alfred Pennyworth. Sewing away tearaway costumes. But anyways, so Batman breaks in and he's like, well, if the Joker got in, I could get in. But the Joker doesn't have to get in because instead, at the stroke of midnight, he launches a Marlin missile from the roof of his van.
Yep.
And it releases a gas which doesn't affect anyone, but it reacts to the perfume that Harley sprayed on Francis earlier in the office to form a binary compound that makes him go all Jokered out.
Mm-hmm. Which is one of the creepiest transformations we've seen.
It really was.
Cool camera angle for this, where it's kind of lower 3/4, and you just see all of the lines emerging on his face, and they kind of play with contrast, and it just is very, very dark and sinister.
It's really visceral. I squirmed a little bit watching it.
Yeah.
We've talked about the fact they can't show blood, but this was their way of, I feel pushing the boundaries a little bit in terms of the ratings, because it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do a transformation that close up after this. Where it's usually, because usually, at least in the movies, from what I remember, or in the animated films, from what I remember, they are hit with the smoke, and then when the smoke fades, they're just already laughing.
Yeah, they just kind of like in Phantasm, he's just laughing and laughing and laughing, and he's got the grin, but it
You
looks
don't see it.
natural-ish.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy, like his face is like it's like veins were popping out, and it's like his face is twisting and contorting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up actually. But so they failed to. Well, they save him, but the guy Francis still got hit.
Yeah.
So Joker goes back in the broadcast. Is like, all right, guys, now you got till 3.
And he picks just another random accountant.
Yeah, it's the second in command, I guess, like the second behind. I wasn't quite sure.
I don't know. Another random guy.
Another random guy.
So they're at the house. They all the police are there. They're like, nothing is going to happen.
Yeah, we're safe.
Then you see this ominous cat walk in.
Oh yeah, that cat.
So he walks in the house. Cat is chewing on a Joker fish, goes mad and jumps on Batman, and Batman suddenly gained like 50 pounds. And we find out that the accountant that they're protecting, Bruce, has changed into another costume to look like the accountant, and the accountant guy was dressed as the Batman in the Batman suit.
Yeah, it's basically switched. So did you see the first twist coming, that it was them swapping disguises?
No.
You didn't?
No.
I see. Really, for me, it was really overly telegraphed. So the guy who's sitting in the chair, the guy who's supposed to be the copyright accountant or whatever, he talks, but we don't see his mouth move because it's covered by the wing of the chair. And then like Batman's in the background. So like they were very deliberately making it so you couldn't associate a voice with a character. So I'm like, okay, clearly they've swamped. But then I didn't see the second twist coming of the cat still going for its intended target. I was like, oh, so they were clever.
I didn't even think about it. When the only time when I'm like something is off is when Batman, the animation changed and he was suddenly fat. Because it was like he was scratched, because he looks normal, and then the cat jumps and it scratches Batman, and then he walks into the light, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of venom that cat had in its claws, but it sucks.
It's fat Batman.
Yeah, it's Batman.
It's Batman.
Fat Man on Batman. Shout out Kevin Smith.
So the cat gets him, and Bullock's like, this is bullshit. You guys aren't doing your jobs. I'm going to go figure this out. And he skulks off. And Batman realizes that the fish that the cat brought in is a Japanese tang. It's rare, so it only could have come from the aquarium, which, of course, is where Bullock went, because he also figured that out.
Yep.
But he's also an idiot and gets captured and dangled over a shark tank. But the Joker decides to just wait for Batman before...
Well, yeah, because Bullock isn't his target.
That's true. He doesn't really give a shit, I guess, about Bullock.
Right.
But
and like what's the quote in Dark Knight? Or like I don't think it's in Dark Knight. There's in some medium, Batman or Joker has a quote like, "What's the point of doing anything if there's not an audience?"
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what that's from. I don't think it's the Dark Knight, but that's a good point.
I don't know. But that's kind of his whole thing. Is he's a public insane person.
That's true.
Doing anything in private isn't worth it.
He needs his pulpit.
Yeah.
So he decides to wait for Batman to get there, and of course, Batman gets there. So then Batman shows up, agrees to take Harvey's place. He gets
handcuffed and thrown into the tank.
Yeah.
And then Bullock is like, no, Batman, you can't. And then Joker just kicks Bullock into the tank as well. And
in with like a big old slab of raw steak.
Yeah.
Like raw hamburger meat, which draws the shark's attention. But then I'm gonna let you describe it. How does Batman get out of this, Cameron?
This is a great scene, I think. And I feel like I've seen it repeated a couple times.
I feel like I have too.
I don't know where, but I know it's been done.
Yeah.
Batman uses his handcuffs to kind of make a mouth trap, basically like a bit, like for horses.
Yeah.
But for the shark. So it's a metal bit, and he uses it to slam the shark into the glass. The glass shatters, and basically the whole place floods, which I don't think makes sense because it's only one tank. Harley falls from the chaos, and she grabs the other two henchmen. They all go falling. I don't know what part you're trying to get me to get. It
was more just Batman riding the shark around.
Yeah.
In the tank.
All I could think about this whole time was the shark repellent.
I didn't even think about that. Man. Oh my God. What?
Yeah, it's the most iconic scene, I feel like, of the 1966 Batman.
And it never even crossed my mind.
Batman wasn't prepared.
I did love too that, because my thought was, well, now this innocent, frankly, he's an innocent shark, is going to be
they cover
stuck,
their tracks.
But they cover their tracks because the water flows out the door, bring the shark with it, and just dumps him into the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, that's convenient.
So convenient.
So,
or he can die because it's not his natural habitat.
Yeah. So convenient. So then the Joker escapes up into the roof. Batman goes after them. There's a dramatic fight. It actually it does play out kind of dramatically. Like this is a very atmospheric episode. Like they're up on the roof. It's like lightning's going on in the sky. Like the Joker's cackling and going crazy. He grabs a wrench, trying to beat the shit out of Batman, which is kind of typical, but it had a weird quality to it, right? Like,
well, I read a little snippet of Bruce Timm talking about this episode, and he since it is kind of like a sillier plot, he focused a lot more on the cinematography for this.
Oh yeah,
which definitely plays out. Like you see it a lot more. Like this feels kind of out of its time. Like comparing it to other Batman episodes, it feels like an episode we'd see now, where it more is thought out in the cartoon.
I think even down to like we're talking about the title card at the beginning, like was almost kind of a visual statement on their part too. Like that's a much more cinematic way to start the episode.
Yeah,
it's a weird one. I did kind of like it, but the fight ends with Joker jumping into the water and like, oh, did he make it or not?
Yeah, of course
he'll be fine. With Harley like at the docks crying about her poor Puddin', which I think again first time she refers to him as Puddin'.
Yeah, she always said Mr. J in the last episode.
Yeah, so it's like the first time that we see that she kind of loves him. Yeah, it is. It was kind of a dark episode though, because it is a silly plot, admittedly. But you're right, it is pretty dark. I mean, the gruesome transformation, even the cat's really creepy looking.
Yeah,
really evil. I guess so. It's this was an actual plot from the comics,
right?
The Laughing Fish. I think it was like Detective Comics 475 and 476. I guess a little bit based off of the Joker's 5-way revenge.
Yeah, so the first half of the episode, the fish part was based off of the Laughing Fish comic.
Okay.
And the second half, which I assume is the warehouse scene with the shark and the rooftop scene, I think that is based off the 5-way revenge.
Or was it more, I thought I wrote this down and I can't find it in my notes, but Batman is explaining to Francis why the Joker's doing it, because Francis is like, why me? He knows I can't change the law, and he's like, I'm powerless. And Batman says
the joke.
That's the joke. That's why it's funny to him, is because he knows you can't do anything about it, and he's still going to torch you. Maybe that's the part from the 5-way revenge. I've actually never read it.
I haven't read either of them.
Yeah, I know he was a big inspiration for Nolan. That's one of the things he drew on when he was crafting his version of the Joker. But I don't know if you noticed this. I didn't notice it. I found in the trivia when. This is a random little thing. When Joker grabs a wrench off the roof, did you see what the tools are labeled on the box? It was Binford.
I don't know what that means.
Home Improvement?
Oh, yeah. I know that show. It's Tim Allen. I know that. He was a Santa Claus.
Yes, he was. He was the Santa Claus. I was curious if you're going to remember Binford or not.
No, I actually never watched Home Improvement.
I did. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Haven't got back to it. Not sure I would.
I had my little fun fact.
Oh,
because since you always make fun of me for not knowing voices, I'm surprised it took me this long to realize it. But I guess we haven't had like an episode where Bullock talks a lot, but his voice actor. Do you know who he is or what he's famous for? Which I think is hilarious.
It's something
Robert Costanzo.
Yeah. What's he?
He is the voice acting Danny DeVito impersonator.
Wait, what now?
So Danny DeVito's in Hercules, my favorite Disney movie.
Yes.
In every animated appearance of Phil, this guy does the voice of it.
Oh.
And even they had an episode of Family Guy where they had a Danny DeVito character come in.
Okay.
They had this guy do Danny DeVito because I guess he just won't do voice acting.
Oh, so he just fills in.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, he's the Danny DeVito fill-in.
He's the pretend Danny DeVito.
Yeah. And like you kind of hear it in Bullock.
You can kind of hear it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was I was just curious who he was, and I saw like Kingdom Hearts. He's Phil. And I'm like, I wonder if he was it in the Hercules animated series. And he was.
Of course he was. Well, no way Danny DeVito was coming back for that.
Oh God, no. It was 86 episodes of nonsense.
I'm glad you know it was 86 episodes.
I actually looked it up this morning.
Okay. You didn't know it off the top of your head?
Well, I was researching the Disney curse, where
the Disney curse
in the late 90s and early 2000s through the mid 2000s, Disney wouldn't allow a show to be more than 65 episodes, even like very, very popular shows like Lizzie McGuire, even Stevens, Proud Family, all have 65 episodes exactly. The show that finally broke it, live action was a little different. So like That's So Raven and Hannah Montana both broke it. But the first animated show to break it was Kim Possible, surprisingly enough. It was supposed to, but there was so much fan outrage that 6 months later they announced the next season.
Why 65?
That was two seasons worth.
Oh, okay.
To keep generating new content to keep up with.
But it's, okay, so it's not a curse. It was just that was their strategy. They never let it go.
Right.
Okay.
They consider it a curse because even great shows died and people were very upset.
Well, they didn't die. They were just stopped at 65, right? Okay. Yeah. I thought by like a Disney curse 65 episodes, like there was some reason like 65 was terrible. I was like, is that the year Walt died? I wasn't even quite sure like why 65.
No, they had very weird season lengths. I looked up, I think Lilo and Stitch was 35 or 65 episodes.
Oh, so
they
weird.
had a 28 episode season and a 30, whatever that number should be, episode season to equal 65.
37?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Fuck it. That's probably close. I don't know. Who knows? That's odd though. I did not know that.
Yeah.
This show clearly breaks that mold because
It does, because the first season
is 60 something. Oh, maybe it's 65 episodes.
That'd be great. But it's not a Disney show, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. I have to look it up. Okay, so Joker, he's a schemer.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a good Joker scheme?
It's a weird one.
Yes.
I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good one because it's just him being crazy for the sake of crazy.
Yeah.
Which it's good to see sometimes. It's nice to see when he doesn't have like everything is fully thought out. And there's no kind of end goal. It's just like, we'll see how long chaos can reign.
Because we were talking the other day about other Joker schemes.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you what you think is the strangest or the most evil scheme.
So I wrote down a list. I was kind of from my own memory, and then I looked around the internet, some lists too. I think the one that probably resonates with me the most, because I read this comic a number of times when I was younger, was the Joker's plot in No Man's Land.
Okay.
Where he kidnaps a whole bunch of orphans and no one knows where they are. But Gordon's wife, Sarah Gordon, who was in Year One, she figures it out and she like beats everyone else to the punch, and she gets there and the Joker's just like holding a baby and she's got her gun. So he tosses the baby at her. She catches the baby and drops her gun. The Joker picks it up, shoots her in the head, and then just walks out of the room, not even laughing. Like the comic panel is literally like blood flowing out of Sarah's head and a baby sitting in it and like their diaper turning red because they're like sitting in a pool of blood. Super, super dark. But it was kind of like this idea that even he didn't find it funny. It was like him being cruel just to be cruel, more so than being funny. I mean, so in the long list ones, I think that's the one that I always remember the most as kind of being particularly fucked up. But what about you?
The one I remember reading this comic when it came out, because it was kind of right when I got into comics, and it's Joker. Okay, Brian Azzarello's
Azzarello. Sorry. I was going to ask if you had read that. I haven't. I've seen it every time I go to the comic book store. But is it good?
I remember it being good. I couldn't tell you many of the details except for probably the most famous scene from that comic. Joker's kind of in Arkham, and one of his former henchmen rises up the ranks in Gotham, and he opens his own strip club. And while Joker's away, he hires Harley to be one of the strippers. Oh. And Joker doesn't take that very well, but he basically skins the man from the neck down and throws him out into the audience so he can be seen, so people can see him as just a pile of meat.
That's dark.
Yeah.
That's bad. Oh man, that's super dark.
And that I think it's really interesting because that's like you see more of that, not like funny crazy, but like psychopath crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like in The Dark Knight Returns too. Like he kills a shitload of people in that. Like he poisons the whole studio. He poisons a whole bunch of Boy Scouts with cotton candy. He just shoots people at random in the Tunnel of Love. And you get a strong reaction to when he's that kind of violent. I mean, just you and I even just referenced like the most violent times we can think about him. For me, those those are important because it shows that Joker is still a horrible person.
Yeah.
They're kind of less interesting, I guess, in some ways, though, than like some of his more goofy crimes.
Yeah.
I guess.
My favorite one when researching it this morning, I was on a couple of those like top what the fuck moments that Joker's done. And it was when he just like stole a kid's report card and just walked away. Yeah.
I saw that one. Yeah. And I guess it had to do some with bigger scheme.
Yeah.
But I saw that too. It's like, that's really funny.
Yeah. That's a great one. Like, no one is safe from the Joker.
Not even children in their report cards.
Right.
Yeah. I don't see that ever making it into any of the movies.
I hope it does.
That would have fit really well in this show, though, actually.
Yeah.
I don't, as far as I know, they never do it, but maybe we'll be very pleasantly surprised one day with that little moment. But any other Joker thoughts?
None that I can think of. I know I vaguely remember there being a couple good Joker stories in Brave and the Bold, but I wish I could think of them off the top of my head.
I haven't even watched that. I should. I've heard it's actually really good. Yeah. I'm just sad it's off Netflix.
It surprised me how good it was.
Because it didn't look like it. It looked very
kiddish.
Yeah.
Because that came out at the same time like Disney put out the Avengers show where they had similar characters.
Similar animation style.
Yeah. And that one was for, the 6 to 12 audience.
Yeah.
So I think Brave and the Bold was kind of lumped in with that. But it was great.
It's kind of satirical though at points, right? It kind of like makes fun of itself and
yeah. Oh yeah, because Batmite is there. And so whenever Batmite is in an episode, it's just making fun of the whole series. But there's a string, I think in season 2, there's a string of 4 or 5 episodes where just everyone dies. And I'm like, this isn't okay.
That's messed up.
One of them is about the Doom Patrol.
Okay.
And they have broken up because they let a civilian die and they're all dealing with PTSD in their own way. And Batman has to get them all back together and kind of heal them.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is not a kid's episode. This is horrible.
Wasn't this also the same show where the Gotham Sirens sang a song about Aquaman's sexual impotence?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Aquaman plays a big part in that.
I remember just seeing that one clip once of the show. I'm like, oh, this is not what I expected the show to be.
Yeah, it's great. For anyone who hasn't watched, anyone who's been on the fence about watching Brave and the Bold, I highly recommend it if you can find it anywhere.
Yeah, I wish it was still up on Netflix. I really want to watch it, but it's gone.
Yeah.
And I don't like paying for content.
Neither do I. That's why I don't.
I know. A problem for another time.
Right.
So I guess at this point, then move on to Night of the Ninja.
Yep.
I'm going to try and get through this relatively quick because not that much really happens in this episode.
This was, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Basically, a ninja is breaking into Wayne affiliate businesses and stealing a whole bunch of money. I did love that when he breaks into the cosmetics place, he opens the safe and there's bags of what I'm assuming are coins and stacks of cash. He chooses to steal the coins.
Yeah.
Because
this is the 90s. He had a lot of laundry. You think he just has one all black ninja suit?
What impressed me about that is that's machine washable. I mean, that is a really good ninja suit.
Yeah.
Kudos to him. All right, this guy's smarter than I thought he was. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, he's actually pretty clever. So it's a whole bunch of these places getting robbed. Bruce goes to the crime scene and recognizes a shuriken that's been left behind. So he flashes back to when he was studying a martial art. I'm not sure which one.
I assume it's jujitsu.
Okay, I assume that grappling. Too. And he has a sensei, and then there's this other guy, Kyodai Ken, and I'm just gonna call him Ken. And
that's a Street Fighter character.
Jesus, wait, Kyodai or Ken?
Ken.
Okay, I don't.
Ryu and Ken are the.
I never played Street Fighter.
That's fine.
I was a Mortal Kombat guy.
That you're wrong. Well, let's just keep going.
For so many reasons, I'm wrong. But so
it's like saying you're a Soul Calibur fan.
If I knew what that was, I would be offended.
Sorry. Oh, I'll stop the tangents.
No, it's fine. It's my turn. It's my turn to be woefully ignorant about cultural touchstones.
It's fine. No, Soul Calibur is not a cultural touchstone. It's a blemish on the fighting genre.
All right. So Ken beats the crap out of Bruce back in the flashback. But their sensei kind of comes in and it's like, what does he say? It's like, be humble.
This sensei is just like, they just stole all of the most generic like Buddhist teachings.
Yeah. This whole episode is,
he says there's always someone better.
Oh, there's someone better. Yeah.
There's always someone better.
This is very Karate Kid.
Oh, so much.
This is basically a remake of Karate Kid. Okay, so I'm going to refer to the sensei now as Mr. Miyagi.
Cool.
Mr. Miyagi tells off the kid, Cobra Kai, whatever. And
Ken,
thank you. We go back to the present. Batman decides to leave Dick behind as he goes to figure out what's going on here. He seems to be taking this very personally. We go back to another flashback where Bruce is blowing out candles with his sick karate moves.
Yeah. Using his chi, I assume, because that's like the most generic thing you do when you're blowing out candles.
Yeah. I know little to nothing about martial arts, and I'm talking about now about a cartoon that is going off of the most stereotypical elements of martial arts. So there's no way it paints any of us in a good light having this conversation.
No, whenever you see a martial artist kind of blowing out candles without touching them, all I think of is the horrible Dragon Ball Evolution movie that came out in 2004, 6-ish.
I watched some of that.
Good. Don't ever watch it all.
Oh, I think How Did This Get Made did an episode on it.
I'm sure they did.
I think that's why my friend and I watched a bit of it.
Similar to if you ever saw The Last Airbender, which also kind of ripped my heart out.
Well, yeah, it would.
They do this like whole build up for the Kamehameha wave, and he like fires it and just like a candle blows out, and he's so excited. And that's anytime I see a martial art candle scene, that's all I think of. It's just like overhype and disappointment.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me blow up these candles.
I've been hurt before.
So, Bruce is saying in the flashback that he wants to be the best, but the sensei tells him defeat can be more instructive than victory.
Like I said, he's just a walking Buddhist, like
it's platitudes. Just generic platitudes. And then we're back in the present. I'm doing a horrible job summarizing this. Ninjas at Wayne Enterprises. Batman interferes, is going to stop him, and he's going to take him on. Ken has a sword. Batman does not. It seems like they're shaping up for a good old fight.
But Ken also has a gun and just shoots like knockout gas at Batman.
He just pulls a knockout gas gun out, and then Robin like jumps in to basically save him and scares away.
Yeah, Ken runs away.
Basically.
There was a line that I very much appreciated, because not many people know this, where Batman distinguished the difference between a samurai and a ninja.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
That is a very important thing that people need to understand. A samurai is trained in honor. A ninja is just an assassin that will do whatever they need to do to kind of get the job done.
Yeah, they're a thief, basically. Like this guy, he's just a total thief.
Very important difference.
No, it
need to understand that.
It is an important difference, and all this guy cares about is money. And so as Ken is running away from a knocked out Batman, Robin throws a batarang, which cuts open the back of the ninja's shirt, and we see a tattoo, the same tattoo we saw in
the flashback,
one of the previous flashbacks. So now Bruce knows it's the same guy,
and he starts to take it very personally.
Yeah, to the point where he won't admit that he's bothered. Right. Fearful, bothered, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he walks, or he kind of closes off everyone around him. He doesn't talk to Alfred or Robin. Robin takes it very personally. The two of Robin and Alfred have a little chat about how Bruce needs to overcome his fear.
And will never admit that he has fear.
Yeah, never admit that he has a fear. Bruce overhears. He storms off like a little moody child.
Yeah.
And goes to an art auction.
Yeah, a museum. Some charity event in a museum.
Yeah, just like every time you see Bruce, he goes to some charity event.
Yeah, which conveniently happens to have an armory room with some ancient swords in it.
But this was a cool interaction. Oh, so while this is all going on, Summer, the reporter, has been trying to figure out how Bruce is related to all of this. Yeah. So she's kind of following him around. Bruce leaves. She just gets into his car without any struggle. And while Bruce gets it from the car person,
the valet,
chauffeur was what I was trying to say, and that wasn't even right.
No, go ahead.
You see, the valet is Ken,
and knockout gas again.
And I did like this ending moment because it's. Oh, sorry,
I think. Hang on, we gloss over one thing, which was another flashback. This episode has a lot of flashbacks, and they all blend together. So I totally understand. But we see that Ken is trying to steal one of the swords from the dojo, and he gets caught by Bruce. And then before they get a chance to fight, because these guys never actually really fight, the sensei steps in and is like,
"You're banished.
Get the fuck out of here." And Ken just swears vengeance on Bruce. So that's what this whole thing is about. Is been trying to get vengeance on them.
Yeah.
So, but yes, then you're right. They go to like a Wayne warehouse.
And it was a cool problem they set up, because now it's the villain. It's also a rare setup because the villain knows Bruce is Batman, and it's
he doesn't know that Bruce.
So he knows
that Bruce can fight.
Yeah, he knows that Bruce has the ability to fight.
Yeah.
But Bruce obviously has not shared that information with anyone else in Gotham.
Yeah,
because he fights under the persona of Batman.
Yeah, he doesn't want anyone to know that he can actually kick some ass. And Summer's watching all this happen.
Yeah, so he's kind of caught in this predicament where he's fighting a very well-trained martial artist, but he can't kind of defend himself or fight back because it will reveal that he knows, that he can fight. Because how dare a rich person know how to fight?
Know how to protect himself. Yeah. So, but Robin has decided that he's going to help out no matter what. So he goes and he sneaks into the building and basically knocks a giant rug over Summer so she can't see what's going on.
And Kevin Conroy does a great job of immediately switching to the Batman voice.
He does, doesn't he?
And Bruce just beats the shit out of Ken. Not really beats the guy, just throws him over his shoulder, and that's it.
And then Ken once again just like runs away.
Yeah.
And I think that was my big problem with this episode is lots of potential. Like this is a cool arc they're trying to set up.
Yeah.
Of Batman coming up against someone who's better than him. We talked about this last week with Robin. There's a Teen Titans episode, right, where it's the same thing.
I actually wrote that down because this is very similar to the quest in Teen Titans.
And it's been a while since I've seen the Teen Titans episode. Is it better than this?
I think so. I think it's probably my favorite Teen Titans episode.
Okay, because for me, this doesn't work because we never really see them fight.
Well, I know he comes back.
I know he comes back for another one, yeah. But I mean, even just the arc of the story is supposed to be that a figure from Bruce's past who he knows is better than him. So that Bruce has spent, especially as Batman, so much time always being the best, particularly in martial arts. We haven't really seen him go across any martial artists. So he's the best. And when he goes up against the ninja on the rooftop, they never actually fight. He doesn't really get beaten. He's not bested in skill. He's just knocked out with a gas gun, which is just his usual walking into really obvious traps problem. So for me, they didn't set up the dynamic well enough of feeling like Batman was ever actually
in peril.
He was ever actually going to lose to this guy. Yeah. And so it just didn't work. And even the flashbacks, anytime we think they're going to fight,
it stopped.
It gets cut off. And even time in the present they're going to fight, it gets cut off. And so I liked the idea of the arc, but I've seen this done in better versions. For you, it was the Teen Titans episode. Even the Batman, like the third episode, is him against Bane.
Oh, yeah.
And Bane beats the crap out of him. He has to build the combat suit to go up against him. And like you feel this sense of him actually being afraid. I didn't think they did a good job with it on this one.
What I probably read into this way too much, like I always do. But what I really enjoyed from this episode, it was more of the growing dynamic or kind of growing frustration between Robin and Batman.
Yeah.
Because obviously this takes place shortly after Robin's Reckoning. And from that episode, I think Robin no longer sees himself as a sidekick, but he's trying to be treated as an equal.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of you see that with his dialogue towards Batman and towards Alfred. Like, I don't understand why Bruce is hiding all this stuff from me. Like, he's not telling me anything about his past. He wants to go fight alone. Like, obviously, he wants to do what I wanted to do, but no one is telling him no, so he can just do whatever he wants. And it's also kind of due to his immature nature. Batman still sees Robin as the sidekick. He doesn't feel like he has to reason with him.
It's his rules.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of this growing tension. And this episode, I think, is the first time we really see tension between the two, which I think will ultimately lead to the Nightwing.
Yeah.
Him, quitting Robin.
And they do have a nice moment together at the end where Bruce basically thanks Robin and acknowledges that he couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah.
In a very typical, like, I'm not actually going to say thank you, but I'm implying it.
Right. It's the thumb up.
It's like not even a full thumb. It's like he like puts his hand out like a fist and there's like a slight.
Yeah, he gets the idea.
It's like a political thumbs up.
The Bush thumbs up.
The little teeny little thing. Yeah, not quite there. So yeah, it didn't overall for an episode. It didn't quite work for me, just because I've seen better versions of it.
Yeah,
but for kind of basically this is an episode of the week. Technically, this villain does come back, but it's kind of a one-off in some ways.
Yeah. There was one moment I forgot to mention this earlier when we learn that the ninja is Kin. They're driving back, and Batman and Robin are talking in the car, driving back to the mansion. And when Batman's talking about his past, he doesn't say he's a person that I trained with. He's a person that Bruce trained with.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting seeing the referring to himself in the third person, but he truly sees Bruce and Batman as two completely separate individuals.
Yeah. I did like that little moment. He's like, yeah, it was Bruce Wayne who trained with him.
Yeah.
I did have one tiny little piece of trivia.
Okay.
On this.
Let's see if I can answer it this time.
Oh, I didn't know. It's not a setup for me to just make fun of you.
Okay.
It's the voice actor for the sensei was also the old Chinese magician in The Prestige.
He I looked him up.
He's in a shitload of stuff.
He is like my idol of animation. He was in every kind of, if there was ever a wise old man in an animated show, he voiced it.
He did it. Yeah.
He was, if I remember off the top of my head, he was in Jackie Chan Adventures and for one episode. He was in Kim Possible for one episode. But they were from like 2000 to 2009, like every big, Xiaolin Showdown, he was in one or two episodes of. It's fine if you don't remember that show.
Yeah, for the listeners, if you heard a whoosh, that was the sound of that reference going over my head.
I'm not going to go into Xiaolin Showdown. It's great for the people. It's all on Amazon. It's I think has the most stellar voice acting cast I've ever seen.
Oh wow!
It's Grey DeLise, Tara Strong, Tom Kenny, D. Bradley Baker, and
so on.
So many,
all the best.
So good. Sorry, I talk about the show way too much. But yeah, he was a very prominent voice actor in the,
looked that way
in the early 2000s.
Yeah, the only thing I really recognized him from was the Prestige.
Prestige, yeah.
But I just like that too. It's like, oh yeah, I like that character in Prestige. Any other thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, I was gonna go over because this episode made me very curious about what all martial arts Batman does know.
Okay,
so I read this list earlier, but it just makes me so happy just seeing it. So, according to his lore, Batman has mastered 127 styles of martial arts, including Muay Thai, Krav Maga, Capoeira, Yaowen, Taekwondo, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Ninjutsu, Kendo, Fencing, Kinjutsu, Bojutsu, Fran Combat, Boxing, Kickboxing, Hapkido, Wing Chun, which is great if anyone's seen Ip Man, and a lot of others that I just can't pronounce. Shaolin, Bagua, Hungar, Tai Chi, Kung Fu, which is great for the Avatar fans out there because those are the ones that the four elements are based off of. So basically, Batman is the Avatar. Unbelievable.
That's a lot.
I enjoy the flashback scenes because we do kind of, I like great kung fu movies.
Sure, and Batman has the potential to be a good kung fu character.
Yeah,
he just isn't always.
Yeah,
we always get that from him.
I want Donnie Yen in the next Batman movie.
That would be awesome
since he was great in Rogue One.
That, you know what, the thing is, we might actually see him pop up at some point.
Yeah,
for that reason alone, because now he's more of a household name. So
go Donnie Yen, Batman.
Yeah, I would love to see him in there. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so I think that wraps it up for our 2 episodes this week, which then means Bat Plug.
Shit. God damn it! I always okay. Let's see. Still rewatching Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's so good, guys. It's so good.
I feel like maybe we should do a spin-off podcast where it's you talking about how much you love Avatar. And I think maybe I should just not watch the episodes and just be like
the whole time just describing
so confused, being like, what?
Yeah.
Cameron explains Avatar to idiots, I think.
It's not long. It's only 3 seasons. And I am slowing down at the last season because I just want to cherish it just one more time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's one of those shows, I'm sure when you rewatch older shows, I remember what I was doing when I first watched it.
Yeah, sometimes.
Because the last season of Avatar was very weird. I don't know if people remember this, but it was released online before it was released on Nickelodeon.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah, and it was very frustrating. So I would watch it online in school with my friends. And I remember we'd be sitting in the chemistry lab because that was the only computer that didn't have like teachers monitoring it. And we'd just sit there and we'd watch, Avatar, and we'd freak out over Avatar, and it was awesome. It was great bonding.
That makes me so happy that everyone else in your high school would be trying to watch like porn on the teacher's computer, and you guys are watching Avatar.
Who would ever do that? There's cartoons to watch.
Far more important things to be
Far
done.
more important. Oh, I guess the other big thing that I want to plug is there's a comic I got for Christmas, which is great. It's called The World of Adina. And it's a 1960s French comic. The artist's name is Mobius. It's just the coolest name ever.
It is a great name.
And I looked him up a little bit. So he's like famous for solidifying the comic style that we're so accustomed to now. But his kind of master, like his opposite of protege, mentor. It's been a long day, guys. His mentor was the artist that did Tintin, which is, the man who started the
Hergé?
I think so.
Yeah.
Also a French artist.
Yeah.
And comic artist. He's the man who started the modern comic style. Oh. So it's cool to see kind of the progression of like refinement and getting to where we are now.
Yeah.
But it's a cool story. It was way ahead of its time. It definitely deals with what's going on in the world now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Robotics, not robotics, but robotic enhancement versus natural works.
Oh,
it's cool.
That's awesome. I will have to check that out. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So, mine is actually something you gave me, which was the Rick and Morty Total Recall. I guess you could call it a board game, a card game. Yeah, so it's based on the Rick and Morty episode with Mr. Poopy Butthole, where the house is filled with parasites, and you have to figure out which ones are real people and which ones are parasites. And we've played a few rounds. It's
fun.
Really fun. Mm-hmm. Also made me go back and immediately then rewatch that episode, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I highly recommend that game. It's a little confusing to kind of get started. And we were just playing the two of us, but I think especially if you had more people, it's pretty awesome. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
And I think that about does it. One thing I wanted to do this week was to send out some like shout outs and thank yous to people I know who are actually listening to this.
Thanks, guys.
Which is nice to know. So I had a lovely Twitter chat the other day with Rafi Asadi and Luke Forrester, and they were saying how much they like the podcast and were giving us suggestions for movies to do. And we had a little talk about the Timmverse comics. So thank you guys for supporting us and for being really cool. And then I think it's Low456 or it's IO456 does a nice job of retweeting us when we put out episodes, as does the DC Comics, not the actual DC Comics, but like DC COM1CS Twitter feed, to clarify. And he does a great job of just generally promoting kind of fan projects around DC Comics and DC Comics news. So we're getting some like love on Twitter from like the DC fan base.
Thanks, guys.
Which is awesome. And then some personal friends of mine. I know Todd, you listen every week. When you're listening to this, it'll probably be on your commute home, and it went long, so I hope you had a longer commute than normal. But thank you for always listening. I'm hoping to get you on here at some point and talk about Nightwing. And then our friend Vasilius from Nerdist, he also, I think, listens to it. If not, he at least like says nice things to us on Facebook. So we appreciate that.
And he also has an awesome podcast called Tolkien Takeaway.
Oh yeah.
If anyone out there is a Lord of the Rings fan, he goes over the philosophy of rings and how they relate to everyday life.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't listened to it because I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but
I think I don't think you have to be. It's great for kind of anyone that's just like, needs a little bit of philosophy for the day.
Okay, I do like me some philosophy. So I've only seen Lord of the Rings.
Especially nerdy philosophy.
Oh,
that's what I relate to the most.
All right, I love nerdy philosophy. All right, I'll add that into another plug there. I'll add that into my podcast queue.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone you want to send out thanks to?
Yeah, Trey, thanks for listening. You're also probably listening to this on your commute home. And Lauren, thanks for always talking to me about Nightwing's butt. We have a lot of conversations about that.
It's a great butt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lauren always likes all of our photos on Instagram and stuff.
Lauren
so so thanks, Lauren. That's awesome. But yeah, I think that basically does it. So if you're listening to this, I suppose you already know how to find us on social media, because we were just acknowledging people who have found us on social media. But yeah, we're at Timm Talk Pod on Twitter. We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram account. We have a Gmail account that I don't even check. So I don't think anyone else has sent anything to it. And if you give a shit, which you shouldn't, I'm at Lordifer.
And I'm at Cameron Dexter on everything.
Yeah.
Actually, I just found out it's Cameron.Dexter on Instagram.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
You never knew that about your own?
Nope. I've always told people it's just Cameron Dexter.
Guys, we are expert here at self-promotion.
I mean, I wouldn't say that that's my job, but unfortunately, social media promotion is what I do professionally.
That's sort of is your job. Well. Yeah, but it's not what you do personally.
Right.
So one could be forgiven. All right.
But as always, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah,
and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.